Hi, my name is Leo. When I was 20, I thought I'd found the perfect job. A history student getting paid to sit all night in a quiet place, surrounded by books and documents, with plenty of time to study. It was the Philadelphia City Archive. It sounded perfect, but I want to tell you why I only worked there for 3 weeks, and why, to this day, my heart starts to pound whenever I go into a basement. The archive was located on 2 subterranean floors beneath the main city hall. It was a vast, labyrinthian space filled with endless rows of tall metal shelves. The air was dry and cool, smelling of old paper and dust. My shift was from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The job was ridiculously simple. My workspace was an old metal desk with a lamp and an internal phone situated near the only lit entrance. Most of the time, I was just supposed to sit and read. Only rarely would a night shift cop or a city clerk call to request an old file. An elderly man named Arthur, who seemed to have worked there forever, trained me. He showed me how the catalog system worked, how to use the cart for folders, and how to handle the fragile documents. And then, at the end of the orientation, he gave me a list of rules. "This is probably the most important part, son," he said, his voice low and serious. "Just follow them, and you'll be fine." The rules were strange. Never, under any circumstances, go into Section Z. It's at the very back, behind a red line on the floor. There's nothing you'll ever need in there. If you hear noises, footsteps, whispers, falling folders, do not go and check. It doesn't matter how real they sound. Call me on the internal phone, extension 1, report what you heard and where, and wait. The light in aisle 13 sometimes flickers. When it does, do not look in that direction. Just ignore it. It will stop after a few minutes. I smiled, thinking it was some kind of hazing ritual for the new guy. Old building, right? Weird noises, pipes. Arthur didn't smile back. "Just follow the rules, Leo." The first week passed in blissful silence. I read, I studied for my exams, I enjoyed the solitude. The archive was my fortress of quiet. I'd occasionally hear the hum of the ventilation or the creak of pipes, but nothing out of the ordinary. I was already starting to forget about Arthur's strange rules. It started in the second week. I was sitting at my desk, deep into a book, when I heard it, a faint, barely audible sound, like someone dragging a fingernail along a metal shelf somewhere deep in the archive. I froze and listened. The sound repeated, a little louder. It was coming from the area of Section G, about 50 yards away from me. I remembered rule number 2. Part of me wanted to just ignore it, but Arthur's voice was so serious. I hesitantly picked up the phone and dialed 1. "Arthur?" "What is it, son?" his sleepy voice replied. "I heard something, a scraping sound in Section G." There was a pause. "Understood. Thanks for letting me know. Just stay put. It will stop." And it did. I sat for the rest of the night feeling a slight unease, but nothing else happened. The next night I heard footsteps. Clear, slow footsteps echoing from somewhere down aisle 20. They were heavy, like someone in boots walking on the concrete floor, but I was alone, completely alone. My heart leaped into my throat. I called Arthur again. His response was the same. "Thank you. Don't move from your desk." With each passing night, the sounds grew closer and more frequent. A soft whisper I couldn't make out, a rustling sound as if someone was sorting through folders on the shelves. I was becoming paranoid. Every shadow seemed to move. Every creak made me jump. The silence was no longer comforting. It was tense, filled with anticipation. I started drinking a lot of coffee to stay awake, terrified that something would happen if I fell asleep. And then came the night with aisle 13. I was just getting up to stretch my legs when I saw it, out of my corner of my eye. The fluorescent light deep down the 13th aisle began to flicker, erratically, intermittently. I immediately remember rule number 3, do not look in that direction. I turned away, staring at the wall, my heart hammering, but the curiosity was unbearable. Why couldn't I look? What could possibly be there? It went on for maybe a minute. I fought with myself. My rational mind said it was just old wiring, but the fear that had been building for days screamed otherwise. Taking a deep breath, I slowly turned my head and looked. For a moment, I saw nothing but the long, dark aisle disappearing into the blackness and the flickering light. And then, during one of the flashes, I saw it. At the very end of the aisle, a figure was standing. It was tall, unnaturally thin, and it stood perfectly still. I couldn't make out a face, but I saw long, branch-like arms hanging almost to his knees. In the next flash of light, it was slightly closer, and then closer again. It wasn't walking, it was just appearing closer with each flicker, like it was playing a game of red light, green light with the electricity. A primal terror seized me. I snapped my head back, shutting my eyes, but the image was seared into my mind. I fell back into my chair, trembling. The phone rang. It was Arthur. You looked, didn't you, Leo? His voice wasn't angry, just tired and sad. I couldn't speak. I just made a kind of whimpering sound. I'm on my way. Stay put. I spent my last 3 weeks at that job in a state of constant dread. I never looked down aisle 13 again, not even when the light was steady. I reported every sound. But the worst part was section Z. I always avoided looking in that direction, but sometimes I felt like something was watching me from there, from just beyond the red line. I quit. I couldn't take it anymore. I don't know what lives in that archive. Maybe it's a ghost, maybe it's something else, but I know that those rules weren't made to protect the documents. They were there to protect me, and I broke one of them. Sometimes at night when I'm falling asleep, I see that figure in the flickering light again, and every time, it's one flash closer.
Hey, I'm Frank. Been a truck driver my whole life. I've driven millions of miles on this country's roads. Seen it all. Horrific accidents, strange lights in the sky, people living on the fringes. I thought nothing could rattle me anymore. But one night in the Utah desert on Highway 50, they call it the loneliest road in America, made me question my own sanity. It was a standard haul. I was carrying freight to California, driving at night to avoid the daytime heat. The road was perfectly straight, a black ribbon of asphalt cutting through a lunar-like desert landscape. Around me, there were no towns, no houses, not a single light for miles. Just me, my truck, and the low hum of the engine. I'd been out of cell service for hours, and the radio was nothing but static. It was perfect solitude. Around 2 in the morning, I glanced at my rearview mirror. Far behind me, right on the horizon, 2 points of light had appeared. Headlights. I didn't think much of it. The road may be lonely, but cars do use it occasionally. I kept going, holding my speed at a steady 65 miles per hour. 20 minutes passed. I checked the mirror again. The headlights were still there, at the exact same distance. That was a little weird. Usually a car either overtakes you or falls behind. But this one was just hanging back there, perfectly matching my speed. I figured the driver just had cruise control on, same as me. No big deal. Another half hour later, it started to bother me. The distance hadn't changed by an inch. It felt as if those headlights were glued to my mirror. I decided to run an experiment. I gently pressed the accelerator, increasing my speed to 70. I watched the mirror, and the headlights behind me, without any delay, accelerated just as smoothly, maintaining the exact same distance. My heart skipped a beat. I slowed to 60. So did they. 55. So did they. A cold anxiety washed over me. This wasn't a coincidence anymore. This was a game, or a hunt. I tried to get a look at the car, but the headlights were too bright, creating a glare that obscured its silhouette. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was an unmarked cop. But why wouldn't he turn on his flashers? Some prankster? But who would do this for hours in the middle of the desert night? The hours crawled by, and the situation didn't change. Every time I looked in the mirror, they were there. No closer, no further. A constant, silent presence. I started to feel like a cornered animal. The surrounding desert, which had once felt calm, now looked like a trap. There was nowhere to turn, nowhere to hide, just this endless, straight road. I started doing stupid things. I'd slam on my brakes, hoping the car would be forced to pass. But it braked just as sharply. I swerved in my lane. It mirrored my movements. Panic turned into genuine terror. I felt like an insect under a microscope. This wasn't just tailgating, this was a form of psychological warfare, and it was slowly breaking me. Finally, around 4 in the morning, I saw the faint sign of a rest area ahead. This was my chance. I flicked on my turn signal and slowly pulled into the gravel lot. I stopped my truck, killed the engine, and sat frozen, staring into my mirror. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it would burst from my chest. The car behind me did the same. It smoothly pulled into the lot and stopped about 100 feet behind my trailer. I waited. I waited for someone to get out. I waited for it to drive on, but nothing happened. And then the most terrifying thing happened. Its headlights went out. And I was left sitting in my cab in total darkness and silence, knowing that somewhere behind me, in the pitch black of the desert, was a car. I didn't know who was in it. I didn't know what they wanted, but I knew they were there and that they were waiting. I sat like that until dawn, not daring to move, my hands clenched on the steering wheel. As the first rays of sun touched the horizon, I carefully looked in my mirror. There was nothing behind me. The lot was empty. There was no car, no tire tracks in the gravel other than my own. I don't know what it was. A hallucination from fatigue? Or something else? But I know one thing. I never drive the loneliest road in America at night anymore. And every time I see a pair of lone headlights in my rearview mirror, my skin breaks out in cold sweat.
Hey everyone, my name is Alex and I'm a video editor. My story isn't about dark forests or abandoned houses. It's about how sometimes the most terrifying things can come to us through what we consider safest, our own screens. It all started a few months ago. My old data storage drive was dying and I was looking for a cheap replacement. On a local online marketplace, I found a listing, 8 terabyte hard drive, barely used, cheap. I met the seller, a weird, nervous guy who seemed desperate to get rid of the device. He practically shoved it into my hands, took the cash, and hurried away. I didn't think much of it. It takes all kinds. Back home, I plugged the drive into my computer. It was nearly empty as promised. I started to format it, but the process stalled at 99%. It turned out that there was a single hidden, write-protected file on the drive. I did some digging in the settings and made it visible. The file had a strange name, do_not not delete.avi. Curiosity got the better of me. The file was about a gigabyte, not too large for an AVI. I clicked on it. A video player opened. The recording was low quality, black and white, like from an old security camera. The camera was static, pointed at an old wooden chair sitting in the middle of an empty, dark room. The only light source seemed to be moonlight, faintly filtering in from an off-screen window. And that was it. Nothing happened. I scrubbed through the video, an hour, 2, 3, nothing. Just a chair in a dark room. No sound, no movement. I figured it was some corrupted file or a failed art project. I closed the video and, ignoring the title, dragged the file to the trash and emptied it. The next day, I was working on a project and noticed again that the hard drive was missing a gigabyte of space. I checked. The file, do not delete.avi, was back. I was sure I had deleted it. Must be a glitch, I thought. I decided to try again, but before I did, I got curious. Was it the same file? I opened it, the same dark room, the same chair, but something was different. I looked closer. On the seat of the chair was a doll, an old, raggedy doll. I replayed yesterday's viewing in my mind. I was 100% certain the chair had been empty. This unsettled me. Maybe I just didn't notice it yesterday. I deleted the file again, this time using a special program to completely erase the data. The program confirmed the file was gone for good. The next morning, it was there again. My heart started to beat faster. With trembling hands, I opened it. The doll was still on the chair, but now its head was turned in a different direction, as if it were looking into a corner of the room. That's when I got genuinely scared. This wasn't a glitch, something was happening. I started to take the file's name seriously. Maybe the previous owner had been trying to warn me. What would happen if I kept deleting it? I decided to leave it alone, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every night I would open the file just to check if anything had changed, and nothing did, as long as the file remained on the drive. This went on for a week until I accidentally deleted it again while clearing out junk files. I realized my mistake a second too late. The next morning, the file had returned. I opened it, and a cold sweat broke out all over my body. The doll wasn't on the chair. It was lying on the floor next to it as if it had fallen. And on the wall behind the chair, there was writing. The words were blurry, but I could make them out. The words were, "I see you." Panic set in. I ripped the hard drive out of my computer. I wanted to smash it, burn it, get rid of it, but something stopped me. The thought that whatever was in the video was somehow tied to the drive. What if destroying the drive unleashed it? The worst part was, the room in the video was starting to look familiar. The way the light fell from the window, the old wooden baseboards, they reminded me of my own living room. I dismissed the thought as paranoia. I deleted the file for the last time yesterday. I didn't want to, but my computer got a virus and I had to format all my drives, including this one. I stayed up all night waiting for the morning. This morning, the file was there. I stared at the icon for probably an hour before I dared to open it. The recording began. The chair was knocked over, the doll was gone, and the camera, its angle had shifted slightly. It now captured a part of a door I recognized. It was the door to my bedroom. The video is still playing. I'm writing to you with the player open on my other monitor. I can't look away. I'm afraid that if I close it, I'll miss something. I don't know what this file is, but I know one thing. It's not just showing a recording, it's showing what's happening right now. And the thing in the video, it's in my house, and it's getting closer. A few minutes ago, I heard a floorboard creak in the hallway, and the doorknob in the video, I think it just started to slowly turn.